Okay, so very first thing, I want to preface this video by saying there is not one correct way to grip a pistol. There's a ton of good shooters out there, world champions that all grip the pistol in different ways. In my opinion, in my experience, what matters the most is just picking what feels best for you, what feels most comfortable, and then just practicing your ass off and getting really good with that grip. But today, I want to share with you the fundamentals of a good grip that no matter who you see shoot, pretty much all of them use these common techniques in their grip to control their gun as best as they can. So really quick here, we're just going to go over the basic stuff. A lot of you guys have probably heard this a bunch of times before, but we're going to start off with our strong hand. So on the strong hand of pretty much any good shooter that you see, you're going to have two things that they all do. Number one is you want to get the gun as low as you can in your hand, or your hand as high as you can on the gun itself. Basically, you want this hand as close as you can get it to the slide without actually inhibiting the movement of the slide. Second thing is you want to get your finger underneath the trigger guard here up as high as possible. Underneath that trigger guard, if you look on my Glock here, I don't know how easy that is to see. I've actually undercut my trigger guard a little bit so I can get my middle finger even a little bit higher on there. So you can remember those two things, getting the webbing of your hand between your thumb and your pointer finger as high as you can on the gun, and getting your middle finger underneath the trigger guard up in there as high as you can. Okay, so now that you've got that part down, we're going to talk about your support hand. Now again, I'm sure tons of you guys have already heard this before, but basically with your support hand, you're going to come in and you're just going to take up all this extra space that you have on the outside of the gun here. With your support hand, you're going to get this meaty soft part, back of your palm, kind of the heel of your hand on that grip, and you're going to push it into that grip, and that's what's going to give you that good purchase on the gun and good pressure to control the gun. Now, this is one spot where you're going to see some different stuff. For instance, my grip looks like this. My thumbs are just perfectly both pointed forward, and a lot of people have a grip that looks like this as well. But you'll see people who cock their hand a lot farther forward and looks like this, like Bob Vogel. Crazy good shooter, he's insane. He can shoot great with a grip that looks like this. Looks completely different from mine, but he's still doing the same basic stuff of a high purchase with the right hand, getting his meat of his left hand on that grip. He's just rolling it a little farther forward, getting a little farther up on the gun, but it's still the same basic principles. A lot of cases, I'll see really good shooters who hold the gun like this, with both thumbs kind of sticking straight up. I think that's really weird, and I think it feels really weird, but when you watch these guys shoot, you can't argue with how good they are when they hold the gun like this. And that just comes back to what I was saying earlier about just picking something and practicing with it. Don't change it, just find what feels good, practice with it until you get really good at it. And then of course you have other shooters like Hunter Constantine who kind of have the same basic grip as me, but in his case he actually bends his thumb down like this, and he says that allows him to get a better squeeze on his gun when he's shooting, and that's totally fine if that's what works for him. Alright, so just to recap, because I want you guys to remember these very basics. High purchase with the right hand, the webbing on the back of your hand, your middle finger under the trigger guard. Left hand, you have the meaty part of your palm coming into the grip to create a good purchase on the gun. And that is the very basics of a good grip that you'll pretty much see across all shooters. And whether you want to do thumb straight forward, your thumb bent a little bit, your hand really far forward, or thumbs pointing straight up, that's all completely up to you. You should just play around with a couple, shoot some shots, see what feels comfortable to you. Because I can tell you right now from my experience, if you have a grip where your hands are not comfortable, you're not going to shoot well. You're going to get tired if you're squeezing too hard, or if your wrists are in a weird angle and your wrists start to hurt, you're just not going to shoot well. You want to hold the gun in a way that's comfortable. So now going on to the next part of this, I'm going to talk about two pieces of technique that completely changed my personal skill with a pistol and will probably do the same thing for you. And this again is two techniques that pretty much every good shooter on the planet uses, just in different ways. I'm sure that a lot of you watching this video have already heard lots of people talk about the basics of building a good grip with your gun, and it's probably old to listen to because you know that it's not making you shoot the way that you want to. So I'm going to tell you right now, these next two tips, if you remember one thing from this video, remember these next two things. If you remember one thing, remember these two things. That doesn't math. So, number one is probably the more talked about technique that you may have heard before, but you might not be putting into practice the proper way. Now, I've heard this described by Amy556 on Instagram as if you're holding a horseshoe with both hands and you want to bend it flat. If I'm doing that, you notice what my elbows are doing. That's the important part, is to pay attention to your elbows. I'm going to point the gun at the camera here, unloaded, totally safe. What we're going to do is we're going to build our grip, and then if you watch my elbows, they're going to flare out. I don't know if you can notice that because it's not very much, but we're going to build our grip, and then elbows are going to go out. Just barely out. And if you do this, you'll notice what you're feeling is that this part of your strong hand, kind of the meaty part right behind your pointer finger on your first knuckle, and this part of your support hand, kind of in line with your thumb, this really meaty part, what's going to happen is those are both getting pushed inward on the top of the grip. So when you're gripping your pistol properly, with my elbows flared out a little bit, what's happening is I'm actually putting more grip pressure on the top of the grip than I am down on the bottom of the grip. And what this is doing is giving you that good purchase and pressure right below the slide that's reciprocating back and forth. So you're getting closer to the moving part of the gun, which makes it easier to control. So purchase with your right hand, a good high purchase. You bring in your left hand, get that meat on there, present the gun, and you flare your elbows out. Now, you don't want to do too much. You don't want to come out here and do one of these things. You're just bringing your elbows out enough until you can feel that good pressure on the top of the gun. So I would say that's the first lesser talked about technique. The next one is one that I've only started practicing pretty recently within the last couple of months and has made an incredible difference for my shooting. And that is, suspense, locking your wrists. Now, I have heard people talk about this before, but in these other like how to grip a pistol videos, basics of a grip videos, they really don't talk about locking your wrists, and it's so important. So basically what it means is that when you're presenting your gun, you know, your good grip, you're coming out, you're flaring your elbows, getting that upward pressure, and then you need to actually focus on flexing your wrists. But it's kind of a double-edged sword because a lot of people, when they think about locking their wrists, they actually just squeeze tighter with their grip on both hands. And you don't want to do that. You don't really need to squeeze really hard like you're trying to break your gun. A lot of people do grip a gun like that, and that's fine. Again, it's whatever works for you. But in my experience, when you build your grip and you're just focusing on squeezing as hard as you can, you start shaking, you fatigue yourself much faster, and it's just harder to shoot well for longer doing that. A lot of these really good competition shooters out there, they actually focus more on manipulating the joints in their arms and their wrists to control the gun the way they want to, rather than just squeezing the gun harder. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you right now. Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate two different grips for you here. The first one, I'm not going to lock my wrists. I'm going to keep the rest of my grip the same. I'm going to shoot a couple shots at the target, but I'm not going to lock my wrists. I'm just going to let them stay loose, and I want you to watch what the gun does. Okay. Now, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to focus on locking my wrists. Alright, I hope you guys can see that in the video because I can definitely feel it while I'm shooting. And I'll show you guys here really quick what I'm looking for in that situation. So if you paid attention, when I'm not locking my wrists and I shoot, you notice the gun does this. This is pretty exaggerated. It probably doesn't show up that much on camera, but I can definitely feel it doing that. You notice when the gun recoils, it's recoiling at my wrists. My wrists are what's moving. And if your goal is to get your sight back down on target as fast as you can so that you can shoot again, bringing your gun from here back to here and getting it back in the same exact spot is really difficult. Now, when my wrists are locked and I'm focusing on keeping those joints from moving, you notice the gun recoils like this. Where basically it's my entire arms moving up and down, which is taking the recoil rather than my wrists moving up and down like this. And again, I don't expect this to come across on camera really well, but when I'm shooting, and if you try this out yourself, you will notice just a night and day difference when you're trying to have quick follow-up shots and the gun's doing this, or quick follow-up shots while the gun's doing this. It's so much easier for the gun to come up and bring that sight right back down when your wrists are locked. All right, now to give you guys one more demonstration of the difference that locking your wrists can make, I'm going to shoot 2 bill drills at this target. Now, of course, the A-zone's already all chewed up, so I'm going to shoot my first bill drill kind of low left on the target. I'm going to shoot it with my wrists loose, and then I'm going to shoot another one low right on the target with my wrists locked, just so you guys can see the difference in hits. Okay, that was with loose wrists. Now we're going to go bottom right and do locked wrists. Oop. All right, a little bit of trigger freeze there. That was my bad. But you guys can very clearly see here our first group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our second group, all 6 right there, just like that. So now you guys have a visual representation of how much of a difference locking your wrists makes with your shooting. So now I'm going to show you guys the best way that I have found to actually feel what it feels like to have your wrists locked, because it's kind of a difficult thing to just tell someone to lock their wrists. So we're going to use the bumper of my Jeep here to kind of show you. You build your grip out, and you can do this on just anything that you can push your gun on. If I build my grip out, and I can come down to the top of my bumper here and push on the gun, you can see I'm bending at the wrists when I do this. So you simply just stop it from bending at the wrists like this, so you can push down on it, and you're fighting against it. And that is the best way that I've found to show yourself what it feels like to have your wrists locked, so that you know you're doing it the right way. I learned this technique from Hunter Constantine on his channel. It was a great piece of advice to show you what it feels like to have your wrists locked. So instead of doing this, you're doing this, not letting your wrists bend. And if you're doing it right, you will notice that you can keep your wrists from bending without actually having to squeeze the gun any harder. All right, now before I wrap this video up, I just want to do a recap of everything right here at the end together. So if you're building your grip properly, we know what it looks like. So from the draw, high purchase on the gun, with your right hand with the webbing between your thumb and your pointer finger, high purchase, getting your middle finger up underneath the trigger guard as high as you can. Your support hand coming in, getting the meaty part of your palm in the open space on the other side of the gun, clamping in. As you bring your grip up, you're flaring your elbows out, pinching in on the top of the grip with your hands. And then last, but probably most important, is locking your wrists so that the gun can't recoil like this and the gun has to recoil like this. That, in my opinion, whether your thumbs are straight forward, pointed down, your hands clear far forward, your thumbs are up, that, in my opinion, is the best way to build the best grip you can, no matter how you like to grip the pistol. And now I want to leave you guys with one more piece of advice that I've learned while shooting handguns, because I think it's a bit of a misunderstanding, and once I kind of realized this, it did help me become a better shooter. When it comes to controlling recoil with your handgun, what's most important is not stopping the gun from coming up, or stopping the dot, if you're shooting with red dot, stopping the dot from leaving the glass. What's most important is having the recoil of your pistol be as predictable as possible. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be a good pistol shooter, what you're trying to do to be able to shoot fast is to be able to shoot and then shoot again as fast as you can, but still be accurate. And the best way to do that is to know that when you shoot, that your dot is going to come right back down into the same spot that you're already looking at, so that you're ready to just shoot again. While the fundamentals of a good grip are about controlling the gun, the way you control the gun is by making it very predictable, so that you know how the gun's going to recoil and you know that you can pull that dot right back down where you want it for your next shot. And I keep saying dot because I shoot with a red dot, but obviously this applies to any kind of sight that you're using with your pistol, irons, red dot, whatever. But with all that being said, that's about all I've got for you guys. I really hope that the tips I gave you guys in this video help you become better shooters, because I know how frustrating it can be when you go out to the range to shoot and you just can't shoot as good as you want to. So hopefully you take what you heard in this video and go out and try it, and I hope it makes as big of a difference for you as it did for me. If you guys did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate it if you could go down below, leave a like on it, leave a comment down below, let me know if there's anything else you guys would like me to talk about with handgun shooting techniques, anything that you guys are struggling with. Any interaction on this video would be awesome, because as we all know, YouTube absolutely hates gun content because they're very not based, and probably better just leave it there. And if you guys are new to this channel, I pretty much just like to do videos on everything to do with guns. I'm not just a pistol shooter. I love long-range shooting and anything to do with ARs, carbine shooting, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much anything to do with guns. I'm very autistic when it comes to firearms. So if you are also tickled by the firearm-tism, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you ever go out shooting on public land, don't leave any garbage or targets lying around.